Larry Schmittou is a winner, and he figured out how to be successful whether he was coaching Nashville Sandlot teams or leading Vanderbilt baseball to Southeastern Conference championships. During a time when Commodore baseball had few tangible resources, Schmittou's eye for spotting talent and his ability to develop a winning team made him a legend in Music City. He led Vanderbilt to 4 straight SEC Eastern Division championships and league titles in 1973 and 1974, when he was the SEC's Coach of the Year. Few coaches have ever enjoyed as much alumni respect and appreciation.
Thank you, Mr. Chancellor, Mr. Williams. I'm honored. I didn't ever think I would be standing up here, but I don't believe anybody could appreciate the honor more than me. Sometimes in life, people will say you made the worst decision of your life, and it turns out to be one of your best blessings in life. I grew up in Nashville, so-so pitcher. And when I was in college over at Peabody, I used to come over and throw batting practice for Coach Richardson, Coach Boss, part-time coaches at Vanderbilt, and then Coach Archie later on, even after I got out of college. Then I was a part-time scout for the Cleveland Indians, so I'd have to go see some of the games to scout the people on the other team, not the ones on Vanderbilt's team. So I was familiar with Vanderbilt baseball. I had a lot of good summer teams. One of my players, very best players, was a pitcher named Elliott Jones. His father taught physics at Vanderbilt and was on the athletic committee, and evidently mentioned me to Mr. Neely as someone he might want to talk to. So one day I'm minding my own business in February at Gillsville High School, where I'm the football and basketball coach. Mr. Neely showed up, and he said, "I would like for you to be my baseball coach." And I said, "Why would I want to do that? Y'all are awful." And he said, "You're right, but you, with my help, can correct it." And he was an outstanding person, highly recognized as a football coach, and had integrity. And that interested me. He said, "Now, I can only pay you what we were going to pay the assistant coach for you to get through this season till June, which is $1,500. But I will give you a full-time job once you finish this season." So I decided to do that. I knew some of the people that was already there, even though they didn't have scholarships. Marlon Keel, Paul Wells, Elliott Jones could play a little bit, and I had one really good power hitter named Jim Armstead. So I went to work. The first 4 days we played on a football practice field was spent with hoes and shovels digging out our infield and picking up rocks. And then I went to my powerful coaching, and we had sliding practice, and my best player, Jim Armstead, broke his ankle. And I said, "Schmittou, you're the stupidest human being in the world." We didn't have a fence, so ball might roll to 25th Avenue. George Leonard hit a ball. He didn't run very fast, went almost all the way to the street. When he slid into third, I said, "Good hit." That ball must have gone 500 feet. And we didn't win but 8 games that year. We got beat by Madison High School in a practice game. But on that team, they had a pitcher named Robert Henderson, had an infielder named Steve Estep, and an outfielder named Bill Winchester. And with the help of the high school coach and some financial aid from the administrative office, we got them to come to Vanderbilt next year. And Mr. Neely lived up to his word, gave me a HoF scholarship to sign Mike Willis, who made it all the way to the big leagues. One of our sons is named after Mike Willis. And so we had a lot of fun times. I had to count on a lot of walk-ons. So usually I would try out a walk-on by throwing batting practice. So I'm throwing batting practice. We didn't have a pitching screen. So this big old tall guy walks up. I mean, he's awkward looking. He's moving both feet in the box, and a good hitter don't do that. He's bumping the bat up and down. I'm almost scared to cut him before I throw a pitch. So I throw a pitch, and he hits a 150-mile-an-hour fastball right by my ear. So I said, well, I better throw it outside. He hit another 150-mile-an-hour ball right by my ear. Better throw him inside. I did that. He hit 150-mile-an-hour right past my righty. I made two basic decisions that day. Number one, Jeff Love has made the team. Number two, I will never, ever pitch batting practice to him again. And so who had to pitch batting practice to him the next day was whoever made me the maddest the day before. Then we started getting players in. And the reason I wanted to mention some of the folks, we had some championship teams, but we had a wonderful group of people that laid the foundation. People were getting no scholarship, but they gave me 100% effort every day as if they were on full scholarship. And they represented themselves so well. And then the following year, we were able to bring in other people. I brought in Chuck Boett. I coached Chuck Boett from the time he was 8 years old till he graduated from college. He was a glutton for punishment. John McClain was a good player. I was afraid he was going to go to UT. Mr. Neely asked me, said, you going to get him? I said, I don't know. I don't think so. He said, let me talk to him. I still to this day do not know what Mr. Neely offered him or said to him. But Mr. Neely walked into my dugout and said, you got him. Then the best football player in the whole South was a player named Jeff Peebles. And everybody wanted him. And I was a football recruiter. He was also a doggone good baseball pitcher. So I wasn't stupid. I spent most of my time recruiting Jeff Peebles. And he came to Vanderbilt. He still holds a lot of the pitching records at Vanderbilt. One of the most unique people I ever coached. One of the football coaches said one day, how do you coach Jeff? I said, I give him the ball. We were playing Southern California. In Riverside, California, they had won 8 straight national championships. We are having a terrible infield. They're bugging us. One of my players, Bill Harden, he's here, came in and said, Coach, what's a grummet? I said, I think it's a desert bug. I'm not sure why. He said, that's what they're calling me. We had the worst infield. The person who was helping me said when I went down to say, what are you going to say to them? These are 8 straight national championship coached by the great Rod Dado. I walked in, I said, guys, we will win. Peebles is pitching. And we did. And that's what our whole team felt like, that they had the confidence that had been built up in Jeff Peebles. He wasn't a great hitter. He only got a hit when a guy was in scoring position. He was also very lucky. If he hit a ball, it might hit a rock, or it might hit a bird, or somebody make an error. One game, he gave up 5 home runs in 1 inning against Tennessee. And we went into the 9th inning behind 8-4. My wife went home. Most everybody else went home. Somehow, we got the bases loaded, and Tommy Powell came up and hit a grand slam home run to beat Tennessee 9-8 and move us to our first championship. Tom Powell was a walk-on. He was a good player. I called him in and said, I don't have but 2 or 3 scholarships, but I need to give you something. He and his parents said, no, we're prepared. Give it to somebody else. Those are the type guys that I had playing for me. That victory over that came a long way from our first victory at Vanderbilt. Our first SEC at Vanderbilt, there was a football practice field, and there's a light pole out in right center field. And we weren't winning many games. We're playing Kentucky, and it's getting really dark. This is the last inning. And I forget who was up. but it's a tie game. Barely can see, definitely last inning. And we hit a ball to right center field, and the right fielder went running after the ball and ran smack dab into that light pole. Knocked himself silly. We scored our winning run. So we had come from that to an SEC championship. Why is this such a blessing after people told me it was a stupid decision? Number one, I got to coach over 100 of the finest young men that God ever put on this earth. Some of them are here. Would you stand up? These guys are like Charlie said, still part of a great fraternity. They care for each other. One of my best players was Jerry Schmittou. He, like Jeff Peebles, passed away too early. Jerry came to Vanderbilt right out of high school. He played on my summer team. He stayed a week. And he called me and he said, I don't fit in at Vanderbilt. I came from Glencliff, and I don't dress like those people, and I just don't fit in. I'm going to leave and go to junior college. And so I told him, I said, I understand. He went to Gulf Coast Junior College, kept playing for me in the summer. I said, Jerry, by all means, take good subjects that will transfer wherever you're going. Jerry played 2 years at Gulf Coast, made All-American Junior College, drafted by Detroit Tigers, recruited by every baseball powerhouse in the country. He chose to come back to Vanderbilt and finish what he had started. We called him the pro because Jerry was a coach on the field. He was a guy I could show confidence in. He could study players. He was a true coach and a great player, an all-SEC third baseman. And I was with him the day he died. That was after almost all those players that just stood up had gone to say goodbye to Jerry. Jerry reached up in his bed about 2 hours before he passed away and gave me that smile that he said to me many times over, everything's all right, Coach. Our players respected him, stayed together. Ed White, I know, was there often, as well as a lot of those other people. Those were the type people that I got to associate with. Second blessing was my family. My wife, Shirley, my high school sweetheart. We're working on our second 50 years now. My 5 children, Debbie, Ronnie, Mike, Susan, and Steve, they all became in love with Vanderbilt. Some of my most cherished memories of seeing my daughters, a bat girl, my boys as bat boys. Our vacation was summer trips. We went to several exotic places, Hawaii, Florida, Riverside, California, and then we went to some places that weren't very attractive, like Starkville and Oxford, Mississippi. But we enjoyed all of those trips. And it made my family as close can be, and I still hear my children now tell their children, our 16 grandchildren, what a great experience they had. They're lifelong Vanderbilt fans now. They'll follow Coach Corbin all the way to Omaha, every one of them. And it just was a special time for my family. I also want to recognize somebody else that was important with Vanderbilt's rise in baseball. And I know I've gone on, I'm about through. But when we came there, we didn't have many people come to the games. We didn't charge at first. One game I remember was 4 people, my wife, my daughter, 2 traveling salesmen. Those guys left out of town. One day we had 2. So we weren't real popular and we weren't real good. But the next year, there was 2 guys that decided, and these 2 guys was always in trouble at Vanderbilt in the first place. Chuck Offenbarger and Doug Bates. I think they were on parole or something, but they decided to give me a nickname. So the name I came up with was Smokey, okay? They also decided, usually when you got an athletic team, you start winning and then that audience of fans come. We did it the reverse way because of them. They wanted to get people to come to the games. And their goal was to drink beer and harass the other team. And they came up with such unique activities as one day, I looked on a sidewalk and there was 2 beer kegs. And they had a plastic pipe running in. And they had their own bartender giving out drinks. So they made an audience for our fans, for our players before we got good. And I do appreciate the effort that y'all gave. 2 other quick people I'd like to quickly mention. I'm also proud to have another Hall of Fame member that played for me, and Scotty Madison. Scotty played for me for 2 years. I turned him into a catcher, and he took it all the way to the big leagues. And it was, I believe, Vanderbilt's first team All-American. So I'm proud to have had him. I did put in a rule. Scotty could really get on your nerves. He was a very inquisitive young man. And he would want to ask you about 100 questions a day. And I placed you can only ask me 1 question a day, Scotty, and you better make it a good one because you don't get another one till tomorrow. And then, and all of you people are invited to this. Believe it or not, with my language, we even produce 4 preachers. And one of them is Rick Duncan. And Rick was always very religious. He could have made the big leagues if he wanted to. He was in AAA and decided to go to FCA. But I remember one day, Rick, you know me, somebody swung a bad pitch, and I said, Jesus Christ. And Rick punched me on the shoulder. He didn't have nothing to do with it, Coach. I said, I know. He wouldn't have swung at it either. So, I don't plan to leave tonight, hopefully, but I've asked Rick and Roy Carter, 2 preachers, to preach my funeral because I've lived such a blessed life, a happy life. I want them to tell all the Schmittou stories, make fun, and I want everybody that leaves there to say, I had a good time at that funeral. Schmittou fooled us again. Thank you very much.